This is a video response to Lord of the Flies by William Golding. A short summary of the book is pretty much a group of British boys taking place around 1950s or so, Cold War era, crashed on an island, and they had to fend for themselves with no adults. There's a group of about maybe 15 to 20 or so boys, from all ages, probably 12, 13 being the oldest, and they got into this sort of somewhat setting up a government. They themselves were government. There were two main leaders, Jack and Ralph. Ralph represented more, as I put in a tweet, more of like a Richard the Lionheart, more moral, and he had better leadership qualities, and he was trying to do the right thing. And then as opposed to Jack, who was more so of like a Prince John or a Sheriff of Nottingham, where he would go out and just do what he wanted and what felt good for him. It wasn't necessarily beneficial for the others. He kind of got carried away. But there were different things that happen. Just different conflicts between the group. Throughout the whole story, they were trying to build this signal fire, and that was the main focus, the main symbolic feature, that the signal fire, as long as it was kept lit, would help them get rescued. And at one point in the story, there was a signal fire, but Jack, who failed to do his duties of keeping the signal fire up because he went to go hunt some pigs. They unfortunately were not seen, and it was not big enough. So that kind of started the conflict between Ralph and Jack. Throughout the story, there was a character, his name was Piggy, who was more of an intellectual boy. He was short, fat, but he was just kind of that figure that is annoying, but at the same time you really have to appreciate. From my perspective, looking at it from my perspective, you have to really appreciate him, just because he's on it. He's doing the right thing, but he's just scared, annoying, just fearful, and especially to the other boys, he was just annoying. But things went on. The two, Jack and Ralph, separated, each having their own tribes. Jack was more of they turned into savages. They started painting their faces, and they had all these, it was kind of like just like voodoo-ish kind of stuff. They were just weird, like tribal, like woohoo, as opposed to Ralph, who all he wanted to do was just keep a steady unison among the group, to build a signal fire and just fend for themselves, just stick together. But unfortunately, more people sided with Jack's side, and they just became savages. They lost it. Chaos, and just whatever. And then eventually at the end of the story, Ralph was all by himself, and he was being hunted by everyone else that was left. Piggy died due to a freak accident, as well as many others. But Ralph was running away from Jack and his tribe, because they set a fire to the forest on the island. It was a pretty small island, to kind of flush him out, and and then Ralph escaped to the sea. But when he got there, he was found by a British cutter, and the officer was outside, and he approached Ralph and told him, what are you guys doing? He obviously knew, but he was just like, what are you guys doing? He's like, all right, well, you guys look crazy. I'm gonna leave you guys to just clear out between you guys, and then you guys can come with me. You guys are rescue. Sorry about my dogs, but so that happened at the end, and I guess it was kind of a happy ending in a sense. A lot of people died. Ralph almost died. And a lot of innocence was lost. Kids just lost it, and kids, they just, they can just do whatever. But literary aspects, I'm not very good at this, but I'm going to try my best. There was a lot of symbolic features in this book, like the glasses from Piggy that represented kind of like hope, because that was the only thing that could light the fire for the signal fire, and that was their main focus of how to get rescued. There was also a conch that Ralph constantly blew to call an assembly, to get everybody together, to work together, to come up with ideas and thoughts, and just hear everybody out. And so that kind of resembled order, And then there was a sow or a pig that Jack and his group killed, and then they went crazy after that, and they cut the head off, and then they put the head on a stick. And that eventually became the Lord of the Flies, figuratively, because this one boy, Simon, who was kind of going crazy, ran into it, and it began to figuratively talk to him, calling itself the Lord of the Flies, saying that you're never going to go off this island. I'm not going to let you go. I'm evil. And then that represented chaos and evil. That was the start of how everything just, kind of exploded from there. There was some irony in the book, especially at the end. particularly at the end where, like I said, Ralph was trying to escape from Jack's group because they had set the forest on fire, and forest on fire, that big jungle, dense jungle, just smoke was just billowing out. And when when Ralph got to the edge of the sea, or to the beach, he was rescued, and then they said, "Oh yeah, well, we saw your fire, but it was unintentional. That fire was meant to kill Ralph, but really it saved him." And the whole story, Ralph's main focus was just, guys, all we need to do is get the signal fire. You guys can do your hunting, but together we just need to get the signal fire working so we can, get rescued. So that was kind of ironic at the end. There was some personification going back to the pig, or the sow's head, as portrayed as the Lord of the Flies, because it was talking to Simon. He could see its mouth moving, and he was like being sucked into it. He was just going crazy. But giving the sow's head the ability to talk and whatnot, that's a great example of personification. Wrapping up my personal opinion of the book, I approached Mr. Rob and many others, and they said, "Man, this is my favorite book." Mr. Rob said this is his, maybe number 5 book that he's read, and he's read a lot. And he said it was a great book. I was expecting a lot. It was okay. It was kind of a hard read just because there's so much detail to follow through. I'm just so much more used to dialogue, and half the time you couldn't even tell who was saying what because they just wrote. The narrator or the author just wrote, this. He didn't say like Jack said, this said, that said, as much as I would like to. That might have helped a little bit. So it's kind of hard for me. But the book itself, the way that it resembles government and the human tendency, obviously sin, but also the tendency that we have to just be outrageous and have a lust for power, and how things can just go crazy. That really stood out very well to me, and so I really did like that. I really appreciated the book towards the end, action packed, just and it was cool having kids portrayed as the main characters, because it definitely gave me something to relate to. Being a kid, when I was a kid, I had a great imagination, and all these different things. And so, I forgot the beast. Okay, another thing of symbolism was the beast. It was this figure that the kids had thought was real, that was actually a dead, one of the grown-ups that ejected out of the plane when they crashed, that was in a cave, that his body was in a cave or something. And when they looked into the cave, it looked like it was a beast. It was just fluttering, and it was just it's kind of, I guess, the figure of it, and that represented fear, and that just gave all the kids something to think about, that just stayed in their mind, like fear. Hold the beast. Oh, we gotta watch out for the beast. We can't go too far with the beast. And so that represented fear. And sorry, that was out of order, but I just remembered that. Very important. But yes, it was a good read. Appreciated the book, and thank you very much.